Hey, everybody, welcome to the Achieve Results Now podcast. This is Mark Cardone.
And Theron Feidt.
As it's so easy to look at the world, right? And we all do this, but it's so easy to look at the world and see a lot of things wrong with it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's something that, we can look at our families, we can look at all these things and we can say, oh man, this stinks and this is hard. And, these problems aren't fair and all of that. But I think it's so interesting as we talked about gratitude maybe a month or two ago, but I think it's interesting when you look at people and you say there's so much to really be grateful for on the planet, that those things can really be broken down into the same categories.
And it's really a mindset shift. And you look at just being grateful for something, having that attitude in your life allows you to see opportunities, it opens up ideas and how to make things better. And it makes you happier.
Yeah.
And who wants to be around a grumpy person?
I remember, years and years and years and years ago, talking about the attitude of gratitude. And I think we even did a podcast on the attitude of gratitude. And I know we talk about gratitude a lot, and I can't stress how important it is, especially if you want to make progress. Because, finding that gratitude begets more gratitude, which helps you continue to move forward. And I agree with you.
Right.
It really is a mindset. And it's not just a mindset of being able to be grateful for the easy things.
Right.
Because I think that's, somebody brings you a present, you're grateful. That's so, it's very easy, but finding that gratitude in things that are a little harder to find it in, or things that we ignore, is a really important skill.
Well, I think it takes courage, right? It takes courage to be grateful in the things that we're talking about. The obvious things, that doesn't take much courage, and not that you shouldn't be grateful for those obvious things, of course.
Right.
But I think what we're talking about and what we're going to expand on in this podcast is being grateful for the things that aren't as obvious.
Yeah.
The things that you wouldn't think necessarily you should be grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about it many times of obstacles in your way.
Yeah.
Be grateful for the obstacles with your goals, because those are there to make you stronger.
Yeah.
I loved when we were getting ready for this podcast and discussing what we're the details, you mentioned the gym.
Yeah. I said nobody goes to the gym and gets upset that there's weights there.
Right.
Like nobody sees the weights and goes, oh man, they're here again. And that's exactly that attitude. Is you show up at the gym and you go, I'm excited to do this because it's going to make me stronger. It's going to make me better. Right. It's not, oh man, here's another day and here's the weights and here we go. Right. Maybe some days we have that. Like we all have that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But as a practice, we want to be able to enthusiastically have gratitude for things like that.
Yeah. And the other point I thought when I did a little deeper dive into gratitude recently, and that's why we came up with this doing gratitude again, this version of gratitude in the podcast. And I'm looking at my notes so I get this right, but to be grateful you shouldn't be grateful because there's no suffering, or you're not suffering, or there's no suffering in the world, because that is going to happen. It's going to happen. But you should be grateful on a practical sense, because it gives you the best chance to move forward in your life. Right? Being ungrateful gives you next to zero chance of moving forward. But having the attitude of being grateful, I should say especially when it looks like there's no reason to be grateful, that's when it really counts.
Right. And these, we're going to go over 3 things to be grateful for in a second. So just a precursor, but what people tend to say with these, especially when you talk about gratitude in these areas, is, oh, well, you're just being naive, right? You're being naive. You're ignoring the problems. Like we all hear this stuff, right? And what I want to do is lay the groundwork that I'm disagreeing with that 100%. Like we see it, we just don't focus on it as part of our action plan, right? Yes. Because, as an achiever, like Achieve Results Now, it's about action, right? It's what do we act on? it's easy to be negative and talk about all the problems on social media and be that person, right? But what's hard and what's real, like the brain sweat work, is finding those things to be grateful for, realizing that that's what you should be basing your steps on the good things and moving. That's how you make progress, like you said.
Well, it's tied a little bit to, and I'll put this podcast that I'm going to refer to in the show notes, the shoe rack principle.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is, and we use this in our dojo, that the shoe rack, people literally put their shoes in the rack before they go out on the mat to train, is you're also putting your problems and anything that happened during your day in those shoes, mentally, of course. And then when you come back, it's not that the problems disappear, it's that they look better to you, or you're able to deal with them better because you just worked out, your attitude is a lot better. And sometimes the problem wasn't that important. You built it up in your head.
Yeah.
And then, it wasn't that important. So that's kind of that same thing, is it's about your focus.
Yeah.
Like if you just like achieving your goal, if I need to recognize the obstacles, I need to see them, or otherwise I'm going to trip.
Yeah.
But I need to see them, but I need to focus on my goal.
Yeah.
To get there.
It's so interesting that you brought up the shoe rack principle, because I literally have an Instagram post in my drafts that's getting ready to go out this week that's talking about how the shoe rack principle is really about choosing your area of focus and being present.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about me being able to say, I'm either going to work out with all this weight on my shoulders, or I'm going to work out free of it and be able to focus on what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And that's something else that, to translate it to home life, right? Mm-hmm. I have, when I take my shoes off at my house, I do the same thing, right? Like I take them off and I shove them where I shove them, and I say, my family they weren't part of that from earlier, right? They're fresh. I'm new to them right now, so it's a muscle, being able to choose what to focus on. And I think focusing on gratitude in these three areas is a game changer.
Yep, I agree. Great. I think we laid the groundwork. So let's talk about the first one, which we did allude to a little bit, is being grateful for the problems that you have in your life.
Right? 100%. 100%.
This is a tough one. The small problems certainly are easier to be grateful for. You can see, oh, that's not too bad, and that helped me get to here. But it's those big problems. Those are the ones that can be tough.
And I find a lot of times the problems people have aren't even their problems. Like a lot of times they're focused on other people's problems or world problems. But I think, focusing on the obstacles that you have and being grateful that you have obstacles. I mean, that means you're making progress. That means you're moving forward, right? If there's no obstacles, it just means you're not moving on the path and you're just sitting still.
Right. And not that I'm a fan of taxes, but if I have to pay a lot of taxes, that usually meant that I made more money this year. Yeah,
that's absolutely right.
And that's difficult to be grateful for, but you have to look at it on the other side is, hey, I'm grateful for this, and what did my taxes go for, and the roads and things like that,
And I really like that example, because it's a weird example, right? Is saying like, geez, I'm grateful that I have to pay my taxes. I'm grateful. Like one time I said to somebody, I'm grateful that I can fill my car with gas, right? Like I'm not focused on the price of gas. I'm grateful I can fill it.
Right.
And I'm grateful for all the things I can do because of that. But what I want to focus on with this one specifically, and the taxes specifically, is it is so easy to get sucked into, my taxes are too high. The government wastes all my money. All the negative things that go along with that. And it's not that we're naive saying, well, we don't think that exists. Like we understand and we have opinions and we have all that stuff, but those things don't move us forward in our lives, right? They're like those magnets that kind of stick us in negativity, right? So I think being able to put your focus and choose what to focus on with things like that makes you stronger.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not that those aren't true. I mean, they're totally true.
Sure.
Right. Obviously depends on what country you live in, but let's say the US, yes, our taxes are too high and the government wastes money. Yes, those two things are absolutely true.
Right.
However, if you're going to do something about it, great, and focus on it. And if you're in the position, you're in the government or you're in an influential position, then do something about it. But if you're not going to do anything about it, you're just going to go out, do whatever you do in life, then stop focusing on it, because it's drawing your attention and your energy towards something that you're not going to do anything about.
Yeah, it really goes to that circle of concern versus circle of influence, which we talked about on a podcast.
Absolutely.
What can I do things about? And if it doesn't serve you,
yeah,
then there's no reason to, you can think about it, but don't focus on it.
Yeah, be aware, but don't focus on it. Exactly.
Be a responsible human, but focus on things that move you forward. Which brings us to the second one. So the second thing, this is an interesting one, and it's being grateful for your family. And I really like this one because there's a lot of different camps with this, right? Because I'm very lucky to have an just incredible family, but not everybody, I understand not everybody does. People come from different backgrounds, different things. And I think being able to be grateful, number one, for the people who are easy to be grateful for, but even for the people who are more difficult to be grateful for,
right,
is a strength to build.
Yeah, it is. And if you come from a tough family, this could extend to friends. I know some people, their family situation wasn't great. And so their friends are their family, and that's fine as well. But even being grateful for maybe people in your family that weren't very good, but taught you maybe what not to do. So they were an example of what not to do. That you can be grateful for that you didn't have to. Let's say somebody in your family's an alcoholic. Well, that made you not want to drink.
Yeah,
that's a positive.
Yep.
A quick example for me is both my parents smoked growing up. Well, guess what? My two sisters, none of us smoked or smoke, because we saw our parents do it, and we felt it was disgusting, right? So I'm grateful in a sense,
I know
that, hey, listen, I know that was bad, and that was a bad habit. I didn't have to go through that because I saw what it did to people.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, as much as, family is so difficult because, they're with us so much, what I mean?
Yeah.
And you think about your parents growing up, they were with you all the time. And you think about, is there anyone I know that I want to spend that much time with that wouldn't in one way or another, right? Well, you obviously, but like anybody you spend 24 hours a day with for 18 years, there's going to be missteps and there's going to be issues, but but being able to kind of see that gratitude and say, hey, either it was a lesson, maybe by watching what they did, I did, like you said, I didn't do things. Maybe I picked up one or two pieces of gold from, the way this person acted in their best of times. It's still things to be grateful for.
And a little more of a twist on being grateful for your family. And this could be tough to think about, but you also brought this up as well.
Yeah.
What if they're gone?
Yeah.
So being grateful for them while they're here.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow they could be gone.
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing to think about. And certainly if you're younger, you don't want to dwell on that at all. But, I think about when my mom passed away, this was 20 years ago. I never expected it. I thought she was going to live. I mean, she was only 60. I thought she was going to live for a long, long time. That's very young. That's very, very young.
Yeah.
And it was a shock. It's like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so being grateful for while they're here.
Yeah.
I think that's going to motivate you. It's at least certainly motivated me. And that, I need to put time. I need to spend more time. I need to be a better person to my family. Yeah.
And it's hard to do because in the moment we're so caught up.
Yeah.
And I think about this with kids, like I remember when the kids were real little, real little, and we like Christmas morning, it would be like 4:00 in the morning, you'd have somebody shaking you to wake up, right? You remember that, and in your head you're going, oh man. And like I remember like hiding once because I wanted to sleep longer, and but then you think about it and you say, I really only have like 18 of these, right? Like it's a very limited number of you really have a very scarce and limited amount of time with people. I mean, even when you think about like parents and things like that, like how many of these experiences do we have? So when you think about that, as much as it's a little bit morbid and a little bit sad to think about, I think
Yeah.
it's important to kind of give you that realistic view of, oh yeah, this is like, this is important time. I should be grateful for this time.
Right. Yep. For sure. And then the last one is being grateful for society
Oh,
that came before you.
who's grateful for that? There's so many things wrong with society, isn't there?
Yeah.
But really, like, that's the common sentiment is, well, like, society kind of stinks. People are crazy. Like, you hear people say these things, but then at the same time, you look at what's out there. You look at the fact that you and I are podcasting from 10 miles apart from each other
Right.
over air,
Yeah.
that somebody put time and work into inventing. And you look at the fact that if I'm hungry for any kind of food, I can have it
Oh,
delivered to my house. If I
that's
want to watch
crazy.
any movie in the world, I can get it like directly on my TV. Maybe it'll, like, the biggest decision is, will it cost $3 or will it be free for the
Right.
movie, right? Like,
Right.
that's the life we live right now. And and those are superficial things. Like, those are
Yeah.
those are superficial, but there's some very deep things that you look back 100 years ago and you say, I wouldn't want to live back then. Like, I'm so grateful I live
Right.
now.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like we mentioned that the richest person 100 years ago, we live way better than the richest person in the world 100 years ago.
Yeah,
Way better.
for sure. And
Yeah.
it's not because we make more money. It's not because things are
Yeah.
cheaper.
No, no.
It's just advancements in society. The world is
Yeah.
more fair now than it was
Right.
100 years ago.
Right. Right.
Um, and of course there's always progress to
Yeah.
be made, right? But
Yes.
if we can't focus in on the progress that's already been made and show the gratitude towards the progress, then we can't move into more progress. We're going to be stuck, in that, well, there's still so much to do.
Yeah. And I really think it's childish thinking. And so many adults have this. You see it online all the time, but you see it in the news. Childish thinking that the problems in society, which we certainly do and we should work to improve them, that doesn't, like we just said, doesn't negate the progress we've made.
That's right.
Both things can be true
Right.
at the same time. That yes, currently there's certain things that are horrible that we need to fix
Yeah.
and improve on. We need to put our focus into that. But let's not forget all the progress we made up to that point, and the people that sacrificed
Yeah.
sometimes their lives, but even sacrificed their time and their money, or maybe they sacrificed their family to get you what you're doing right now.
That's right. And it's funny because I know we always talk about kind of that faith fear balance, right? Like, you can't be faithful and fearful at the same time,
Right.
even though both exist, right? You can
Right.
only have one focus and thought at a time. So
Yeah.
you should choose gratitude, right? Because
Right.
because it builds momentum. So when we start to build that momentum, man, I'm grateful for this. This is awesome. This is cool. What's next? Right. As
Right.
opposed to, this stinks. This stinks. What else
Mhm.
stinks? Right. We don't want to have
Right.
that mindset and that thought process. So I think that's all. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Yep. All
So
right.
let's go. Let's review our 3 things to be grateful for. Number 1 was our problems, the
Yeah.
things that show that we're making progress and moving forward.
Right. Number 2 is, of course, be grateful for your family, but more specifically, be grateful for the parts of your family that maybe are a little more challenging to you. Maybe that get under your skin. Those types of people. Be grateful for them because you don't know how long they're going to be around.
That's right. And then the last one, society. Be grateful for all the advancements, all the progress, all the things that 100 years ago didn't exist and were impossible or unfair. Now we have all of this stuff now, and that'll help you focus on how to move forward into the next 100 years. And that wraps up this episode of the Achieve Results Now podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please share this, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Thanks, and have a great day.